Today I'm going to show you how to fix the screen on one of the newer MacBook Airs. This is what we call at this shop a fuck shit repair. A fuck shit repair is a repair where even once you know how to do it, even once you have the experience and you've done 10 or 20 or 30 of them, it is still just as much of a pain in the ass on the 30th try as it was on the first, the second, and the third. And there's still just as much chance of fucking it up. There's just as much chance of somebody not wanting to pay because you fucked something up or neglected something as there was the first time. An example of a fuck shit repair. The iPhone 4 CDMA volume flex. That is a fuck shit repair. That thing looks like a fucking anaconda with wings. And I want nothing to do with putting that into a phone if any one of the other technicians that's here is here. Sorry guys, it's just, you know, I'm gonna pull the owner card when that comes in. Now, we're gonna start off with something that looks like this. And we're gonna turn it into something that looks like this. Come on, you fucker. There we go. Pretty good. Now, a couple of notes about this. As I've stated in other videos, I'm not a cameraman. I'm not a media-inclined person. So I have a, cheap-ass camcorder that has virtually no working zoom on it, so I have to put the camera right next to what I'm doing if I want you to see something close up. And I also have a $12 tripod. So I have to, maneuver my way around things like this while I'm working. So if you would like to take time out of your day to insult how long it's going to take backlight cable in, if you want to complain about the angle of the video, go fuck yourself. Again, this is a free video, not ad supported in any ways. You don't have to listen to 30 seconds of advertising about the fucking presidential elections or basketball or some shit to get to this. So, you get what you pay for. So we're going to start off by getting this bezel off of this computer. This is a Utrecht art supply store spatula. There are many different tools that you can use, but this really gets the job done. And this size in particular just is great. Let me move my hand so that you can actually see what the fuck I'm talking about. Now, usually I use liquid to get this off. I am not going to use any liquid in this process because liquid will ruin the backlight layers and it will show spots. So I'm going to use my trusty howto FR801 rework station. If you want to ask me what temperature I'm using, I have no fucking idea because I have analog temperature selection because I wanted to save money. So I'm going to heat up my bezel a little bit. Again, the whole camera angle shit. All right, let's. Now look at the black rubber trim. If you get to a point where you see that black rubber trim looks shiny or melting or wet, just get the fuck off with the heat because you're going to fuck that shit up. The biggest newbie mistake here is fucking up the black rubber trim, whether it's the unibody or the Air. You do not want to fuck up the black rubber trim. Replacing that is possible, but it's a bitch, and also when I started doing this, you could not simply buy the black rubber trim anywhere. So if you fucked this shit up, you were stuck with it, you had to make an excuse, or just one of many terrible, terrible options when you fucked up a repair. So for all I know, you can buy that rubber trim now, but I'd highly suggest just not fucking it up the first time. So follow my instructions, keep the heat moving. If you ever see that black rubber trim start to become wet looking or shiny looking, just back off. Now, am I going to go in like this? Fuck no. I'm going to rest up that black rubber trim. I'm going to go in like this. This is a luxury that you don't have with the unibody MacBook because there's glass, so you have to go around here and do that without fucking it up. And that's a process that I'll explain in another video. But here, since I'm replacing this piece, and it's open obviously because there's not glass over the screen, I have the luxury of just going in and going. And also, don't push this in too far because if you push it in too far, you'll actually push past the bezel, past the black rubber trim, and you'll fuck that all up big time. Which is part of what we're trying to not do here. also have a ton of glass shards on my table from the last air that I did. And I don't feel like cleaning it off right now, so here we go. Alright, so we go around. As easy as alcohol would make this, I am not about to use a solvent on here. It will leak straight into that LCD, and those back layers will become worthless. Yeah, again, I apologize for the little camera angle thing here, but sorry. This tripod has about 2 or 3 positions that I can actually put it in where it won't fall apart. And stop. You are right by the webcam hole. Do not fuck up the webcam. Push away, and yeah. Do not fuck up the webcam. Unfortunately, I don't have detailed instructions on how to go through that area without fucking it up. So I'm just going to leave it at the simple instructions of don't fuck up the webcam. Also, the way I'm doing this, if I actually needed to reuse this screen, for example, I'm taking out the screen on an original Air, I'm replacing the bezel of the webcam, I'm obviously going to do it a little bit differently. Here, I have the luxury, and it's nice to have luxuries, of not giving a fuck about this particular screen. So, yeah, the spatula is banging into it on occasion, but you see what the thing looks like. It's going to wind up in my fucking e-waste container. I don't care. I'm very particular about my bezels. When this thing goes back on, I want nobody to be able to tell that I ever opened it. some interesting trivia. On the original MacBook Air, there's a bar that the bezel is glued to, and that is actually held to the back cover by these two barely visible, like pinpricked thin little bars that are like this big. So if you pull on the bottom of the bezel at all on the original MacBook Air with the silver power button, you will destroy that piece, and then the bottom will stick out a little bit, and it'll never go back flush because the part that you're gluing the bezel to won't be stuck to the back cover. Just a little Apple trivia on fuck shit repairs. I hate the original MacBook Air. Oh, the other luxury I have on this, I don't have to give a shit about ripping these ribbon cables down here because again, I'm replacing it. So if you do need to just replace the webcam or something like that, you obviously need to be careful around here because I completely skull fucked this little ribbon cable here that goes from the polarizer control board to the screen. And my screwdriver on the magnets on the top. There are two screws in the bottom here. One, two. All right, now we get to one of the pieces that makes this a fuck shit repair. This is the polarizer control board. Now, right here is the cable that goes from the backlight of the screen to the polarizer control board. Do I have any hope on Zoom? See that shit? How it wraps around. And then over here, we have the LVDS cable. We gotta peel that out, but you cannot break that fucking cable. That cable goes to the backlight assembly. You cannot buy the backlight assembly anywhere. Not off eBay, not from China. If you break that backlight cable, you need a new backlight altogether, and you are fucked. You will be buying a new assembly for the customer, and I'm pretty sure that if you're watching this video, you quoted your customer less than the price of an assembly. So do not fuck up this cable under any circumstance. Also realize that the cable is actually taped all the way around the polarizer control board. So right over here, let's try this zoom shit again. I am such a shitty fucking camera. You can't see that at all. I went past like 3x zoom and it died. Well, you can. Hopefully, you'll take my word for it. There is a piece of tape that goes around here that attaches to that. So people will be ripping that thing out as hard as they can, trying to get that out of the LCD control board. They'll be ripping and pouring away at that wire without realizing that it's actually taped to the old polarizer control board. So get that off of there. Fuck off. And yeah. Now I can tweeze that piece of shit out. Now let's see if I can do this over the head of the camera so that you can see it. And again, try not to laugh at the shitty camera angles here. And it is out. Now let's move on to the LVDS cable. And I am pulling on this thing and pulling on this thing like I don't give a fuck if it breaks. And there's a good reason for that. I don't. Now let's move on to the fun part. Removing the polarizer. Change the camera angle again. Now this is important. I don't want to burn the backlight layer, but I also don't want to pull this thing off in pieces. If I get to the point where I'm pulling this thing off in pieces, there's going to be a lot of debris that's going to fall on the backlight layer, and that's going to become visible when I replace the polarizer. Again, I'm actually going to be reusing a good portion of the old screen, meaning all the backlight layers and all the backlight diffusers, when I'm doing this. Now I can't use any liquid in the process of removing this, so I am going to preheat this thing a little bit. And then I am going to go around it again with the heater as I'm removing it. Because again, I don't want to be pulling this thing off in millions of little pieces. I want to pull this thing off as one cracked polarizer. That's my goal. I don't know if I'm going to get that because, again, it is close to 10 o'clock. I am tired and I'm probably going to cut some corners, but I'm going to try. Don't ask me what temperature I'm using. Again, I have an analog station. I know exactly what number I need for exactly what job I'm doing, but hell if I know what the temperature of this thing is at any given time. Now, enough pieces of glass have flown in my face in my lifetime doing this to not do this without a pair of safety glasses or goggles. So, get that out. If you don't have a pair, do not pass go, do not remove your polarizer, because if you make one wrong move, you will have glass shot out right into your eye. It's a lot easier to get this glass in your eye than it is the plastic unibody lens. Now, make sure that your spatula is clean. So I use a polyester clean room wipe and some 99% alcohol here. Some nice poisonous shit to clean the ends of this. I'm not going to have it be wet as I go around because, as I told you, I don't want to get liquid inside of here. But I also want to have a very, very clean spatula as I go around. I don't have as much room to work here as I do with the bezel, so I need this to be perfect if I'm going to go around this whole thing without cracking it any further. Work your way as slow as you need to not fucking crack it. Do not fucking crack it any further. If you wind up picking this thing off in pieces, you will be miserable. Go slow. When you feel more resistance, just chillax, take the spatula out, put some more heat. The more time you spend on this phase, the less time you will spend on a miserable phase. No problem going through this, cleaning my spatula, reheat, clean my spatula. I don't care if I have to do this 45 times. I will do it to avoid the misery of pulling this thing off in pieces. And this alcohol is such a high percentage and concentration that it literally evaporates as I'm wiping my spatula. Also, make sure to stick this in not too far. Stick it in right to, where the black border or the end of this padding, the foam here is. Because you don't want to scratch the backlight layers, the backlight diffusers. And then it creates marks that you can't really get rid of. Here we go, we got a crack. I'm going to be nice and slow. This is one of the original cracks. I am not taking this shit out in pieces. Fuck no. So I'm going to clean my spatula again, and I'm going to heat around that area as I remove it. Again, I am not taking this out in pieces. No fucking way. It also helps to use the heat while you have the spatula there, because then the natural pressure that you're creating here, plus the heat, will just make it come right off. Yeah, I guess that. Come on, come right off. Come right off. This reminds me of that Honeymooners skit where they're trying to sell this new set of knives, this new, all-in-one thing, and Ralph Cramden can't get the thing to do anything that he said it's supposed to do after buying like 1,000 of them. And Ed Norton looks at him and he's like, zip, 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 he's zipping the modern way. And they wound up knocking down the set because, Ralph fucked up and made an ass of himself. So all the things that I actually want to show you and all the things I actually want to do almost never come out perfectly on camera because it decides to stop working the way I want it to as soon as I want to actually videotape it and show you. Yeah, I'm going to heat along here and continue my journey around the entire polarizer. Screws. Okay, I'm feeling another point that is hard to remove. Some heat. And there's a little crack. I'm going to clean this again. Beautiful shiny spatula. Here's where me being human comes in. I chipped the corner, so now it's going to be a bitch to get it out. Being very careful with my index finger to make sure that I'm supporting the spatula so that it doesn't hit the backlight. Alright, so much for it not coming out in pieces. I have a little bit of extra work to do. Which is actually good, because if it doesn't go perfectly for you, you'll see how to fix it. One of the things that I've always hated about online repair videos is that they would redo the take 50 million times until they just made it look like it could be done in 10 seconds. You're pulling and pushing and screaming at something, trying to get it off, and the guy in the video just goes, and it comes right off. There is nothing more annoying. Let's remove this cruddy old adhesive. Now here's one thing I have to talk about. When trying to get the excess glass off, let's say an iPad or a unibody MacBook, you can pull it off the whole thing and just, clean the LCD of the item when you're done. Here I have to pull it off little bits at a time, because if some shit actually lands on here, there is a 50% chance that it will leave a permanent mark that I'll never be able to get off. So do keep that in mind. So I'm pulling, even if I see a tiny little piece, I'm pulling it off to the left, and I'm getting it the fuck out of there as fast as I can. There is a very, very good chance I could have gotten this thing off perfectly without having to peel shit. So just learn from my mistake. Make sure to be patient when you get to a difficult point, or else you will be peeling off little bits and pieces of polarizer glass. Now I'm going to blow off some of the excess shit that may be laying on here. Low pressure is key. When I say low pressure, I mean 25-30 psi max. As you see here, 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 and here, there are 4 little things that hold this backlight diffuser in place. Just make sure you don't blow it out of there. There's no sharp shit on the keyboard. Here's my new screen. It's safe that I can turn the heat gun off now. What you hear right now is the roaring of my air compressor and the protest of the birds that are listening to the air compressor. A small, very small bent flathead is one of my favorite tools at times like this. When you get this little LVDS up, I really like how they beefed up the LVDS connector hinge thingy in the 2012 and up models, and also in the Air. Really makes miserable stuff like this just a little bit easier. I mean, granted, it's a nice gesture since they made the entire machine a complete fucking nightmare to work on, to make one tiny aspect of it just a little bit easier for me. Alright, I'll get you some close-up on the misery of me reinserting this connector. Let's get it. Alright. This is going to suck because I have to do this around the fucking tripod. Dare I actually try to extend the camera out, the tripod will immediately fall. Dare I expect it to actually hold up this 30-ounce JVC fucking camera. Alright. Let's pull this bitch out a little bit. Flip. Guide my polarizer in there. I hate doing this around the tripod. Right, now for the backlight cable. This is a tricky one. You don't want to put this thing in backwards. Firstly, to see the copper on the end of the flex cable, that obviously has to be facing down. So let's flip up. Oh, you can't see, duh. Extend the camera. Come on, don't fall down, you piece of shit. Okay. Back to what I was talking about here. So, see that side? You would think, oh, I just slide it in like this. Nuh-uh-uh, fuck you are. This cable has to sit here like this, right? It has to sit back like this. And this board is gonna go in like this. So now you get where I'm going with this shit. It has to slide in like that. And this is just some miserable fuck shit the first time you do it. This is part of what makes this a fuck shit repair. So, watch what I do. This is really hard to do without hitting the tripod or blocking the camera. Make sure it's in there all the way because you do not want to go back in here for any fucking reason. Okay, now make sure that your cable goes into place the way it's supposed to. Pop it in there. Get your control board where it's supposed to be. Alright. Screw the control board in while you're down here. Now let's flip this thing up and make sure it works. If you are going to skip ahead and glue the thing in before you know that it works, just get out of my YouTube channel. Yeah, okay. Forgot, this is the one with the dead battery. Forgot to mention I also broke another cardinal rule of repair, which is turn it on before you actually do anything to it. To make sure that it works. Cool. I think it's got the writing on there from the screen protector, but cool! Ah, my shit works. I love that feeling. Come on, camcorder, I know you suck. Do you have to suck that bad? Okay. So now that I know that it works, and it doesn't look like dog shit, I can glue it in. Tape. You know what I mean. try to use Elmer's glue or super glue or anything else to put this in, you are fucking yourself. Use something good and thin. Again, I'm not going to say I'm against super glue. I did get into an argument with just a miserable, nasty cunt one time about, people who use super glue on iPods should not even be real technicians. Those people can go fuck themselves with a rusty spoon. People who tell you how you should run your business or who is allowed to be in their business based on how they work are typically the people who don't actually do the work. And it annoys me, but so whatever it is your choice and adhesive is, go ahead and use it on whatever it is you please, but for this particular repair, just trust me when I tell you do not use super glue. There are many times that super glue is very handy and very useful, but this was not the time. Motherfucker. Okay. I like to give the thing a good look over without the polarizer there, because you'll actually see whatever marks are on the backlight layer 10 times easier without this there. Ah, Jesus, fuck, that is blinding. Now you're probably seeing some red, green, and blue blob of bullshit on the screen, and those of you that know more about photography and cinematography would be able to explain it. But what I'm looking at is a perfectly even white light panel. Again, you're probably seeing some monstrous shit with blue and green and purple fuck shit flying out of it. And also, if you actually do stare directly at this, you'll notice that everything else is so much darker in the room when you look away. This is like looking into what I imagine the gates of heaven look like. It is that bright. And I'm probably just destroying my eyes just looking at this. It's good to push it onto the adhesive, but this is so fucking delicate that you don't want to push it too hard. I'm not even using my finger, I'm using the end of my nail. A humorous story, this person wanted this job done, but we didn't know if she was going to approve a polarizer. We told her that her backlight assembly was fucked up because it was hit just so hard that it bruised the backlight assembly. And I had to show it to her, and if she approved, I had to put the adhesive on and put the bezel on. No joke. The pressure involved in pushing the bezel down on these cables actually destroyed the polarizer. So you do have to be very careful with this. This is a good-looking repair. Again, you're not going to be able to tell based on the shit-ass JVC camera, which is recording the screen. But I have a pretty dust-free job here. No scratches, no blotches, no fuck shit. Alright, now time to put the bezel back on. You don't have to do this. Yeah, this is just something that I do because of the repair OCD. But there is old adhesive that's on here. I don't like putting new adhesive on top of this adhesive. So I'm going to peel this adhesive off. So back to what I was doing here. Yeah, I'm going to rip all this old adhesive off. And you don't really have to. You could get away with not doing it. But as I said, I want this to leave here looking like it was never fucking worked on. I'm serious when I say that. I want things to leave here looking like they have not been touched. This isn't always possible, especially on the motherboard stuff when you have wires flying around. But for the most part, when somebody looks at the work that's done at a store, because you're paying for it, because I am not as cheap as the Craigslist guy. Often I'm fairly more expensive than the Craigslist guy. But the difference is I want you to look at this and not be able to tell that I was there. So I'm going to peel off all this crappy adhesive. You could use a tool. I'm using my hands because I'm lazy. And my fingernails, because I have them. Fingernails are a great luxury in this business. Okay, apparently you haven't been able to see most of what I've been doing. Great. That has nothing to do with the camcorder or the camera. That has to do with the idiot filming. That's what fast forward's for. Once I'm satisfied that I've got all that old crap off, put some new stuff on. One of the harder things to do here, because of my rampant disorganization, is to actually find the other set of these. Of course, it's under the laptop and the ticket, right where I left it. I use a thicker one for this section. clean the camera all up. Just a little bit of alcohol. On this side. It's a nice feeling when there's no old adhesive, no little bits of glass, no bullshit, and the bezel just fits right in. It's like it's the second you let go of it, it just connects to the computer. You shouldn't have to push it and squeeze it and smash it to get it a perfectly flush job. You just put it in there, and it's set.